Okay, I'm going to show you how to replace a motor in your MC2. Um, it varies a little bit different from the MC13 or 14 just because of the little faceplate on here. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. First, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to remove this little O-ring on here. Um, Depending on what kind of armature bar, I have the ones with the little spring and it's skinnier. If you have that kind, you'll want to remove the whole armature bar from these screws right here, which isn't a bad idea to do anyways, because sometimes the little C-clip on the front here is a little hard to get off. So let me just take off these screws here. And pull the whole armature bar off. Now you can access the cam set screw. Do that. Pull that off. And this is a 1.5mm Allen key that I send out with all the machines. Now you're going to loosen up these two side screws. Okay. Next, you're going to need ideally, instead of a crescent wrench, you want to use a 1/4 inch wrench. I prefer that over a crescent wrench. But take that off. Now you want to loosen up these bottom set screws. And the motor just slides on out. Now on some of these, you may have a little etching, like a little hash mark on this little faceplate, and there'll probably be one right here also. If you do, then you want to line that up when you put that faceplate back on, because these things are sometimes like out of round or whatnot, and I have to shape them to the machine. So now to replace the motor, you just take off your flywheel, your end cap piece. These are dished. You can kind of notice maybe that it has a slight dish to it, and it's dished inward. You want to put you want it so it's dished inward when you put it on. So or just make note of what side you had it on your last motor. Okay, so you put that on there and pull your side screws out so your wire doesn't get caught up in it. And I try to always bend the wires on my replacement motors. I try to already have them pre-bent so that it goes in easily. Just make sure this thing is kind of pointed down a little. And you just kind of guide it in. You want the flats of the motor on the sides of the machine. Push it in until it's seated properly. Tighten this up. You don't want to tighten those too tight, otherwise you can damage the motor and it won't run. Now you put your insulating washer underneath your wire terminal, and typically I have a lock washer and then a normal washer, and usually have another washer on top of that washer. And find your other insulating washer, put that on. If you have powder coated fittings like this, one side is going to be sanded down to where it's bare metal, and that side you want face down. If you have it the other way, then your machine won't run probably, because it won't generate a current through it. Okay, tighten that down. When you tighten that, make sure that that wire is centered up in that notch. If it's pushed off to the side, it could eventually wear a hole in the shrink tubing and short out the motor, or ground it out so it won't run. Now that that's in place, get your cam, put it on. I like using a thick business card as my spacer so that it's not pushed up against the faceplate there. If it is, then it'll bog down the machine and it won't run right. So push that down, tighten that up real nice. Stick your armature bar back on. Always remember, just in case you take this connecting link off, the flange always goes to the face of the machine. So line that up. Put your O-ring back on there. Screw that down. If you have an aluminum armature bar, you want to be careful not to tighten it too tight. You need it snug, but if you tighten it too tight, you could strip it out. But it's still salvageable if you do. You can just modify the armature bar and make it work still. Tighten down these side screws, and you should be ready for business.